Welcome everyone to this regional school board meeting of September 16th, 2024. Pledge of Allegiance. Rachel, would you lead us in the pledge, please?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Rachel. I call this meeting to order. Are there any agenda adjustments?
Yes, quite a few. Under new business, if we can add item G, grant funded musical instruments. That information was uploaded Friday, and I think we sent an email out, but it was too late for the agenda. Also on the personnel report, I have multiple. On number 9, do you want me to go through that now?
No, you don't have to.
Okay, so on the personnel report, we added a 15, a pay change on number 14. And I can discuss that then.
That's fine.
And then just to make it clear, the policies are a first read.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I would like to request that item 5B be moved up after the board chair remarks if possible. We have guests here representing the CAST project, and I'd like them to be able to give their brief presentations and then be
That was
released.
for the
5B.
5B. Oh, okay. Yes.
So we could release them. I'm sure they will want to stay for the whole meeting anyway, but just in
I'm
case.
sure they would.
Okay.
Yes. The chair would announce without objection that we'll be moving the CAST report presentation to just after the board chair's remarks.
Thank you.
Any other agenda adjustments? All right, date and time of the next meeting is October 7th, 2024 at 6 p.m. We need to review and approve the minutes from September 3rd, 2024.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion to approve the minutes.
Mitch makes the motion to approve the minutes as presented. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Tim seconds. Is there any further discussion, folks? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Passes unanimously. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, sorry to interrupt. The non-public meeting minutes are not ready. Can we defer those to the next meeting?
That is fine.
Thank you.
That is fine. And that's because of the length of that they're sealed.
It was crazy.
Public comment. I assume it's all one. Okay. Board chair remarks. As you notice, we'll be addressing that a little bit tonight. We do have a vacancy on the board now. We do still have a quorum. There's been a lot of interesting developments in the world of educational finance. For those of you who may not be aware, most of the chairs at the state legislature filed an amicus brief with the court, essentially trying to say that Claremont 1 and Claremont 2 were unconstitutional. Therefore, the current lawsuit, which has already been approved to provide adequate funding, would not apply because it was based on Claremont. What the court will do with that, I do not know, but I say that for information purposes only. There's other things I wanted to talk about, but we have a very full schedule tonight. So Dr. Pogrzewski, I'll hand it over to you.
Do you want to do CAST?
Oh, sorry. Yes. Mitchell,
Yes. All right.
I need to be retrained every few minutes. Yeah.
You're going to be sorry when this report makes the New York Times bestseller list.
Yeah.
I have some of the CAST team here. I asked them to be present because there were 13 core people who, from beginning to end, were involved in this project. They did a lot of work. I want them to receive recognition, and some of them will be giving a brief presentation on part of the report. But if you don't have access to it right now in front of you, because I believe the report was sent to you through the website, let me just give you a brief overview of how the report is structured. There are 3 major sections in the report. One is an introduction and an overview of the project itself. The next section is the findings, conclusions, and recommendations. And then the third section is successes, responsibility, limitations, lessons learned, vision for continuous improvement, websites used in the report, and then a list of attachments that were also used in the report itself. A couple of things I want to bring to your attention is that as you're reading the report, you're going to notice that there is a fair amount of repetition in sections of the report, particularly in the areas of giving explanations to something. And the reason for that is the report, the true narrative part of the report is about 70 pages. There are about 60 pages of attachments. But when it does go out to the public, we anticipate that a lot of people won't read the whole thing, and they'll go through the table of contents and look at the parts that they are most interested in. And if they miss certain sections, they won't have an explanation to what they're looking at. So instead, we kept putting in explanations so that everybody would get it regardless of what part of the report they were reading. Then lastly, I want to say that for those of you who like to go to the last chapter of a book first before you read you want to see how it ends, at the very end there is also a list of recommendations in the summary section. You'll find summaries or recommendations throughout the report. On every section that is addressed, we talk about our findings and then our recommendations. But for future reference, after you've gone through the report, if you want to have a quick glance at what were some of those recommendations, you can just go directly to the list at the end of the report and save yourself some time. This originally was going to be about 500 pages, but Liz asked for a Cliff Notes version, so we scaled it back to about 130 pages. And
Is there a misunderstanding about Cliff Note versions?
and so I will apologize ahead of time if once you get into the report, if you have trouble going to sleep because you're so overly stimulated, so be it. And so with that, I want to ask the members that are going to come up and speak one at a time. So I'm going to ask Jessica if you can come up and talk about focus groups. Jessica is going to address specifically focus groups that were done with parents who had kids in district and parents who had kids out of district, either homeschooled or in an alternative system.
Jessica, would you state your name because you're on live?
Yes.
Your name and your town.
Yep, I'm Jessica Havisto from New Ipswich. And I was involved with both the in-district and out-of-district parent meetings, focus groups, that's what we kind of labeled them. So out-of-district included homeschool families, charter school families, private school families. And then, of course, in-district was parents that represented all 3 of our schools. We had a decent turnout. I would have liked to have more of a turnout for both, but we also were able to reach out to people and have them answer our questions if they weren't able to attend. So we still got information, just not in the focus group setting. So for the out-of-district parents, we asked them where their children go, what grade levels they're in, just to get an idea of what the representation was. If they had been in district before or if they had never been in district, and pros and cons of the school that they're at, homeschool system, whatever it is, why they pulled their child from public school if they had, and yeah, just mostly reasons, and also asked if there were concerns within the district, if they had tried to seek resolution for that, and if they got a good response or not, if they foresee them re-enrolling in the district for
and what would maybe need to be changed for them to re-enroll, just to try to get an idea of if there are any things that we could just try to trigger and focus on for that. And we saw a lot of common themes, which I think was good and helpful. The in-district parents, same kind of questions. What schools are they at? What grades are they at? How involved are they, the parent themselves, in the district? And if they're not involved, is there a reason why? You know, do they feel like there's not opportunity to be involved? Also, just overall satisfaction with their education. And again, any recommendations to help solve issues, and if they could say like one thing to the board, what would they say and what would their recommendation be, type thing. Again, a lot of common themes in the in-district parents as well, especially like school to school, it seemed. So that was helpful information I found. But yeah, that about sums up what we did for the focus group, those focus groups.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jessica.
Ed, Carolyn? Tim?
So, Ed and Carolyn did the majority of the work in the 2 pillars of school are safe environment for children and attracting and retaining high-performing staff and teachers. And so we had the personnel focus group. We did a lot of making sure that there was anonymity, people were comfortable, and we spent a lot of time, and I got to give a lot of credit to Carolyn and Ed for pulling together some really important data that I think is going to be an underpinning for the success of the school district. So I'm going to turn it over to them.
Thank you, Tim. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Honorable Board.
Again, Ed, for the taping,
Yep.
name in town.
Yes, my name is Ed Rogers, and I'm here with my fellow subcommittee member, Carolyn Cormier. Carolyn and I worked on the personnel subcommittee, and in that capacity, we ran a few focus groups with teachers, and we also met with the SAU administration. We had separate focus groups that we ran with teachers at Highbridge, Boynton, and Messinic. And to the extent that you're giving out awards for engagement, Boynton was the winner in terms of the number of teachers who showed up and were very engaged in the process. We learned a lot. I'm proud to say that I believe all the teachers in these focus groups felt comfortable meeting with us, and as a result, I think we got some candid feedback, which if you're not getting candid feedback, you're not really getting the data you need. So we felt comfortable that they were comfortable with us. I will leave it to you to read the report as to the specifics. I don't want to get into the details of what came out of those groups, but I think they were very productive. Our only regret was that we didn't have another chance to go back and meet with them again. We really were rushing to meet with the teachers before the end of the school year. We didn't want to have to pull them in during the summer. If we'd had a little more time, we might have had another round with them. And likewise, our only other regret was we sort of ran out of time at the end of the summer, and we didn't get a chance to meet with the individual principals of Highbridge, Boynton, and Messinic. If we'd had a little more time, we would have liked to have done that. But on a positive note, all the teachers pretty much felt or expressed that they felt supported by their individual administration. So that was a good thing to hear. Do you want to add anything?
I don't think so. I guess I would echo what Ed shared about the process and the experience. I feel like the only additional thing that I noticed was I feel like we had a really good cross section of participants in both, new teachers and veteran teachers and age ranges. And I feel like that just was a testament to, like Ed said, their willingness to participate on very short notice. And so that was encouraging. And also just if I would share one kind of general positive, it would be that every group of staff, each school individually and unprompted, commented on the level of support they felt from their colleagues and the environments amongst themselves, which was really encouraging too. And so, like Ed said, we'll leave the details to be read by the report, the lengthy report. But overall, other than wishing we had more time to both advertise and prep people, like letting them know what this was about, giving them a little bit more background and a little bit more notice about the upcoming focus groups, we feel like we may have actually been able to get even more participation. But despite that small hurdle, I feel like we have some really good data for you to look at.
I have to say, for me, the support piece, supporting each other and from
Mhm.
staff is
Yeah.
the heart of successful business or enterprise.
Yeah.
Great.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Marlene?
Hello, my name is Marlene Damery. I'm from New Ipswich. I'm going to be talking about the comparative data piece that we researched. Early on in our activities, we did an activity where we talked about what were the issues that we saw, and we put them on Post-it notes. And one of them, the themes that came out of that, was administration and finances. Do we hear something? Oh, okay, no problems.
Ignore it.
I can do that. So one of the themes was admin and finances. And we decided, the group that I was part of, we decided to delve deeper into that topic. And what we wanted to do was focus on facts and data. And so we gathered data comparing our school district, which serves 880 students at the time that we looked at the data. It may be different now. We gathered that data comparing our school district with other districts in New Hampshire that have similar enrollment figures. So we ended up examining 15 school districts with enrollment ranging from 200 more to 200 less students than ours. And that data was really revealed a lot to us. It showed that every school is unique. We learned that some schools have a lot, very different roles in the SAU's administration department. Some schools were able to do things like have a CTE program, which we do not have. Other schools had one school had an after-school activities director. So every school was very different. And we also had a very diverse demographics among that 15. So that data was obtained from the NEA New Hampshire, which is the National Education Association of New Hampshire. And they had sourced that information from New Hampshire Department of Ed. So it came directly from the New Hampshire Department of Ed and from the US Census Bureau. So in the report, we didn't include all of the data points that we looked at. You're going to see there's quite a bit, though, that we do talk about. And those various data points we included were like student enrollment figures, early exit and dropout rates, cost per pupil spending, and we also included median household income. I think that was an interesting point to look at. Our goal was to create a comprehensive overview of our school district based on factual data and to assess how we compared to other districts that were similar. So you'll see that when you read the report.
Thank you.
I know.
That's much better.
If anybody can speak over it, I'm sure it's Mike.
Mike, stand on a chair and just,
It's better over here. It's louder back there.
yeah.
Good evening. I'm Mike Pellerito from New Ipswich, and I was a member of the admin financial subgroup with Marlene and a few other people from the CAST group. And I'm here today to talk about the two concepts that were coming out from this admin subgroup section, kind of a summary of the project in general. The first one being the underlying basis that we used, that when Mitch got the team together in his capacity before he joined the board, was a culture of organizational performance improvement. And each of the subgroups were using a methodology. Marlene spoke of our identifying our brainstorm session using Post-it notes, using focus groups, or doing data research. Everything underlines a culture of performance improvement. And I think one of the key summaries in the draft document that you all have is that the outcome of this CAST exercise is a living document. And I remember back a few years ago when Dr. Russell had the instructional cycle over on the wall over there, where it speaks to identifying a problem, finding ways to solve it, implementing a problem, and then looking back and how did the change we make work, or did it not work, and then readjusting. And so everything in this document that all the teams worked hard to put together is a step forward, and then a step to be measured, and try some things and then go back. And that culture of performance improvement, not always embodied in a person or a function in an organization, but maybe just in the organization itself. You know, I know sometimes the admin team does informal book clubs, right? So maybe add a book to your book club on, performance enhancement, group organization concepts, and continue to make it part of the overall arching culture of the organization, always getting better. We ask, I think, everyone who's sat at this table over the years has talked about, we ask our students to be lifelong learners, and we embody that too as the admin team and as members of the community. The second point that came out of our admin financial, looking at the overall organization, was the human resources, HR human resource function within the organization that we don't have now. And that came from a point of view of looking at some roles and responsibilities that the admin team undertake, and how without an HR function in our organization, some of those roles become blurred and overlapped, and take away from some members of the admin team's primary responsibility. And I think as summarized in the report, exploring the HR function as a way to, one of the prime drivers of performance enhancement culture. And I'm sure that there's a lot of literature and research out there that shows that there is a return on investment in the HR function. They bring benefits to the organization, bring clarity to our business practices as what they do. So from a crawl, walk, run point of view, we don't want, when the report doesn't suggest, staffing a 18-person HR department, but come from a crawl, walk, run point of view. And I'm going to lower my voice now at that. And bring some of that benefit to the organization, and relieve some of the blurred lines in the admin function, in the administration organization, to perhaps bring more benefit to the organization. So,
Great.
Thank you.
Great. I'm glad that you brought up about the investment or that into an HR. Attraction, retention of personnel, and also cost avoidance are three areas that most people don't associate with HR. So thank you.
Thank you.
This is Carolyn again. Just as we close, I was just thinking on the way over here about the reason why this group started, and back in January after the deliberative session. And regardless of whether anything from the report actually plays out or comes to fruition, and it should be noted that a lot of what you'll read, I really do think you're gonna say, oh, hey, we're already, we're taking steps toward this, or we're already addressing it, which is super encouraging from a participant's perspective. But thinking back to January, and I just wanted to note that even just the act of Mitch kind of spurring us to get together and think about this as a community collectively with people from both sides of the aisle or the table or what have you was extremely productive and helpful, and I think a huge blessing to our town in just in and of itself. So just the actual process of getting people in our community involved, aware, and able to have conversations with people that they may not agree with. And I just wanted to publicly thank Mitch for doing that for us, because I think our town is better off because of it. So thank you.
You know, I think as you read the report, Carolyn, that's very evident. You know, the report can tell you a lot about how it was performed. So thank you, Mitch, as well.
Mr. Chair, I'd just like to say a few things. You know, I want to certainly recognize the people that are here tonight, and they're here representing about as many people, a little bit more than are here, who were very instrumental in the project. They hung in there for months, for 6 months, meeting, you know, as a full group, meeting in subgroups in between the full group meetings, doing their work in between all those meetings, while still carrying on their lives, going to work, raising kids, having weddings, et cetera, et cetera. And so I also want to just formally thank all the participants who were in this project. They did a tremendous job, and I'm really grateful for their contribution.
Thank you. Any comments from the board? Thank you all. Yeah, it was amazing. I'm sorry that quorums do not allow for 3 or 4 board members to be on. But just from the first meeting, it seemed like we were really going to get something good out of this. And I have read most of this, and I don't have a sleep issue problem. I'm just a fast reader. But really, what I saw in there was well thought out. You folks did a wonderful job of getting information that's very important to us. So I thank you personally and for the board as well.
Mr. Chair, I apologize. I have a couple
That
more
was it.
comments.
Yeah, your time is up.
Just for the board's perspective, we intentionally, as Mike spoke, we intentionally focused on performance improvement, which has one of its underlying philosophies that you don't look at individual performance, you look at processes.
Mhm.
And so the report speaks to the processes. We felt that any concerns about individual performance was left to the supervisors and administration in the district and was outside the purview of our project. Secondly, the comparative data section of the report that Marlene spoke to was actually born out of the deliberative session, and a lot of the issues that were raised that night, be they factual or misinformed or whatever. And we felt a responsibility to not try to capture everything that was spoken that night, but try to capture many of the things that were spoken that night and look into what was fact and what was fiction. And so the comparative data section speaks to that. And there are probably somewhere around, I don't remember, 15 to 17 different topics that we looked at in that one section. So thank you.
Thank you, Mitch. All right. Dr. Pogorzelski.
Welcome to Stable. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. So I have quite a report tonight. One of the things that I wanted to highlight, just because of the issues that we had last week at the high school, was a see something, say something. We are trying to encourage students and parents that if something comes across as not okay, harmful to self, harmful to others, it should be reported to administration as soon as possible. We would rather go that extra mile and say, "Oop, we don't have to go any further," than find out afterwards that we could have gotten something at the root. So I think we really wanted to encourage families to reach out if there are concerns, even if they feel that it's silly or an overreaction. One of the benefits of how, in my opinion, how smooth things went last week was simply because, a parent reached out early. So again, that was really important. We are experiencing some food service issues at 2 of the schools Fresh Picks is extremely short-staffed at 2 buildings. Right now at Boynton, they don't have a permanent worker. They have someone that is filling in from another district to get us through. At Highbridge, I believe they're looking for 1. We also had a propane issue in one building and an oven not working in another. Both of those issues have been addressed, and we have been in contact with Fresh Picks, and we got their information, and we put that out to the community. They are looking for people. So see the flyer on the website if you're interested in working in the cafeteria. When we met, we also discussed food service debt. This is something that is going to continue popping up with food service. One of the things that we did is building principals, Rachel, Melissa, we all met and have a thorough process for how we're going to be handling this for the next month and a half. It's about 90 days, and it includes principals reaching out, letting parents know about excess debt. One of the themes that we've seemed to hear is that parents are not aware, and that's because when it's sent from mealtime, the notification, it often goes to spam. So letting families know you have to check your email, take it out of spam, and connecting families with Erin Saris, our social worker, if they are struggling or are in need of resources. So we do have some plans to try to increase our free and reduced applications. We are planning a table at each of the schools for open house. The forms can be confusing. Often the woman, Lori, who manages that on our end, has to reach back out to families for more information. So she's doing her part there, and we're going to be working with families moving forward. Communication, we are working to streamline communication from schools and the SAU to parents. This can sometimes be confusing because depending on what parents put in their emergency sheet is dependent on how they will get information. So the primary email address is who we'll send emails to. The primary phone number is who the notifications will go out to. If the primary phone number is a landline, you're not going to get text messages. That's where the phone call will go when we make a verbal announcement. So just trying to be clear with parents about what exactly, if you're not getting messages, who to contact, you can start by contacting individual buildings. That's a great place. They can edit PowerSchool Live, so we can change that. Last week, I put out an audio message to families. Any parents who didn't receive the message should contact us if they're not getting it from the SAU. We do not plan on doing bi-weekly messaging. I believe that when we make a phone call, we need people to know that this is important and that they need to answer it, not, oh, it's Wednesday, we expect a message. So we're going to try to be strategic in how we're messaging. The building principals all message and are including, for example, they're including highlighting Blue U in their messaging to parents, attend the safety evening. So we're trying to work together to make sure that our communication is effective. And we'll be posting more things on the website. We'll be doing notifications and texts, but we're going to reserve the phone calls for more emergent situations. Speaking of Blue U, we have our first community conversation on school safety, September 19th, 2024 at 7 p.m. at the high school. It's following the high school open house, but is open to all parents. And again, the email, we emailed out a letter to all families. So regarding this program shift, and we're encouraging all families at all levels to attend this conversation. One of the things that I'm asking is that we formally accept Joe Heilman and Blue U's donation of their services. This would typically would be in excess of $10,000. And I would like for us to formally accept that so I can write a letter thanking him in a tax write-off. And then upcoming goals and projects, we are continuing to develop organizational structure there. It's one of those gifts that keeps on giving. So you'll see further in the agenda, we have the overnight field trip form. if you really look at our process for field trips and overnight field trips, it feels a little out of whack because again, Kevin came forward a couple weeks ago and asked for him to pursue this, and we often run into these odd situations doing overnight field trips that we need to look at our process here. What cart before the horse? We are continuing to work on evaluations for directors and review and update policies and continue to update our forms. We are going to be starting to create our district budget, which is exciting and nerve-wracking and a huge monumental task. So building principals are well underway and budget managers are well underway at this point, and we'll be convening in early October. And we are implementing the school safety initiative. I included some important dates. Speaking of open houses, our first is tomorrow at Highbridge from 6 to 7. Then September 18th at BMS from 6 to 7. And the 19th, 6 to 7 at MRHS. This past weekend was a huge success for MRHS homecoming. Games went really well. It was a great turnout at the 5K. And other than that, we are continuing with some hiring challenges, which I can speak to later in the personnel report. But staff are being creative and amenable to last minute shifts. So thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Pogorzelski. The chair would ask that without objection, we authorize Dr. Pogorzelski to acknowledge Tim's donation and to accept his donation of time for the safety project.
Joe.
Sure.
Shows. Not Tim.
No, I said Joe.
You said Tim.
Oh,
Yeah. It's nice credit.
and apologized. No. Any other questions or comments
Yeah,
from the chief?
Simple question. So the emergency fact sheet,
Hmm.
we go to the building principal for like how often is that done? Is it done when a child entered kindergarten? Is it updated every year? Just something to make, and the other thing too is that we have a lot of non-traditional families and it's really hard to make sure that, how do you account for that? I'm wondering if we can socialize that so that more parents can be involved and communicate with the school, like this is when you call, this week you call.
So Power School is, yes, it is a challenge and it has been a challenge for families who are not following the traditional route as far as notifications that can be a challenge. I believe that we've worked with Power School in the past year or two to get more fields in so that more people are notified. There's always room for improvement there. As far as the emergency fact sheet, that's given out at the beginning of every year. And it's often, we're chasing people. Get your fact sheet in, get your fact sheet in. It can be updated at any time throughout the year. So if you were to get a new cell phone number or change your address, you can call and update it. But we, at the beginning of every year, send out, at the high school, they did an electronic version through Google Forms this year. And Highbridge and Boynton both did paper. Yep. Did I answer? Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Mitch, you had something?
Yes, thank you. I just want to, I'm sure I'll be bringing this up multiple times throughout my tenure on the board. But every board meeting, I'm hearing what I call successes, things that are improved, or being worked on, the changes that have been implemented and so forth. And I'm keeping a little list, and I'm sure my little list is very little compared to all that's going on. And so I recommend that the SAU come up with a process to capture all those things that are successes as a way of formally being able to review them. And we just don't talk about problems, but also importantly is to communicate those to the public, whether it's through community conversation, whether it's through the newsletter, or whether there's a section on the website. But I think, again, based on my experience, people tend to be more aware of what they feel is not working or what they want to change. And they're not as aware because the information isn't as accessible to all the things that are working and all the things that have been improved. So I'd like to see some process to more formalize that so we actually capture that information.
Thank you, Mitch. Any other questions for Dr. Pogorzelski? Ms. Anderson?
Good evening. My report is on or in the drive, but I will give you some highlights. The MS-24, which is a annual form that gets submitted to the Department of Revenue in the state of New Hampshire, that's been submitted and that is attached for your review. It's just an FYI. Food service balances. Dr. Progazelski hinted at the challenges that we're facing. We're just looking to bring some consistency to the process and just inform all our building administrators what the process is and get them involved earlier and frequently. That is a work in progress. Upon talking to other BAs or food service directors at the state level, our situation is not unusual at all. It doesn't mean that we can't, try different tactics, but I think we're all in the same boat. COVID kind of spoiled us with the free meals, and then that transition has really been tough for families. So more to come on that. There's also a budget transfer. That's an FYI for you from middle school to purchase replacement jerseys. And then the fiscal year to date summary. As I had commented in the report, our salary and benefit lines are a little tighter this year, but that's only because we've been successful in hiring more staff than we had in prior years. So, that is definitely a good thing to have the resources in the school for our students. But is, something to keep in mind and to be watchful of going forward to make sure that we don't overspend. And that's it for my report.
Comments and questions from the board for Ms. Anderson? Craig is not with us tonight. His wife has had a hospitalization, and so he is not here. I do not know. Do you have a report from him? I know you've received a report.
I do have a report. Craig basically summed up the end of the year, the end of the summer, trying to wrap up all the summer projects, including the LED lighting project. He had Chris Saunders sweating. But it was done. Again, he thanked the summer staff, the summer help. Grounds look fabulous. They still have a few projects coming up. The rekeying of Messinic and Boynton will occur in October, and a new set of bleachers is coming to Boynton. So, and we're hoping to install them before winter. They're not padded though, so don't get too excited.
Bring your own.
Yeah. That was it.
That's it?
Well, he has a capital reserve request too.
Oh, that's true. Do you want to talk about the tractor?
The tractor.
Hmm.
We need a new tractor, and that is on here. Request for capital
is.
reserve funds.
You want to talk about that now?
I could talk about it now. So we're skipping to request for capital reserve funds. Craig has put in, he attached some quotes, taking the lead of Tim in some discussions that you had with community members, looking in something investing with a warranty. That was a big discussion. Again, at this point, what he's recommending, I believe, was he's putting forth to go with the TYM model for $37,000. That's what his recommendation is. We're lucky to have a, I don't want to, Naaman Traffy has experience with tractors, extensive experience with tractors. And that was also one of the things that he recommended. It's a good model, comes with a good warranty. It is not the highest tractor there, but it felt that we would get good use out of it. And then the other piece is, what do we do with our failed tractor? I initially didn't understand what the big deal was. So what, doesn't have reverse, but Craig informed me otherwise. So now I'm educated on that. But basically, again, Naaman's recommendation was to scrap it for parts. He felt that that was going to be the most effective way for us to dispose of it, so to speak. So we're looking for guidance and approval for this method of disposal.
Questions, comments from the board?
Yes, I have
Tim?
an opinion on it. Tractors maintain their value despite not having reverse.
Okay.
So that might be worth a small effort to just see what the resale value might be, plus the repair.
Yeah,
Just to
it's
kind of compare that to the scrap price.
my
Scrap and
understanding
spare
is that
parts.
he looked into it and they were going to pay $1,000 for it. Smithville Trucking.
Oh, so
um,
somebody was gonna make a bid for $1,000 to buy it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so Naaman felt that we would be better off taking it apart and selling the individual parts. Thought that we could make more money doing it that way and then disposing and scrapping the rest of it.
Okay. All right.
If you want, I can see if we
No,
can
it's
look
fine.
up.
It's fair.
Okay.
I mean, it's just, talk to a lot of people buying tractors and they usually keep their value. So,
Other comments, questions from the members of the board?
I'd like to go back to just one piece
Sure.
in Craig's report, and grateful that he's family first. I think as a community organization, that's important. So appreciate that. There's a word in here, Liz. It says dreaded heating season. Do you think at a future meeting we can have like, this is the plan for the heating season? If we have a cold winter, a warmer winter, is he ready? Is there anything readiness that he needs?
I think the concern related to the heating season, and I would add the poor weather season,
Yeah,
is that it's just unpredictable.
right.
You know, if something goes wrong with any of the schools, it unfortunately often comes with a big cost.
Exactly.
You know, so I'm sure Craig can highlight what that could look
Yeah.
like.
Like in a future meeting, maybe in
Mhm.
October, just a quick kind of a rundown in terms of the, if it's going to be below zero, we do this. If it's going to be a milder winter, we do that. Just kind of a narrative for the community.
Okay.
Liz, are you looking for approval of the purchase and disposal of the unit?
I'm looking for both.
Okay. Chair would entertain a motion to approve the new unit and the disposal as described by Craig.
I'll make a motion for both.
Mitch makes the motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Tim seconds. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, under unfinished business, we have the Advisory Budget Committee. Appointments.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
we have 6 names, but before we go through the names for appointment, I'd like to make a recommendation. The charter for the ABC states 5 members. And we talked about this, I think at the end of our last meeting, of looking for 5 with 1 alternate. And so I'd like to recommend that the charter be revised to reflect that it will be 5 members and 1 alternate.
I think we can do that.
With that being said, the names that I would like the board to vote on tonight include Julie Lampinen, Jeff Mahonen, John Shamloffel, Tom Falter, Amanda McKinnon, and Ed Rogers.
Any other comments, inputs from the members of the board, or is there any reason we need to go into non-public on any of those names? All right, Chair would entertain a motion to accept the names as presented for the ABC.
I'll make a motion to accept the names as presented for the ABC.
Tim makes the motion. Do I have a second? Eric seconds. Any further discussion, folks? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed or abstentions? Passes unanimously. Thank you, Mitch. The board, the chair, just so that we have it for the record, the chair would also ask for a motion to amend the charter of the ABC to include an alternate.
So moved.
Tim moves. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Mitch seconds. Further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. New Ipswich School Board Member Appointment. Tim?
Yeah, so we have Karen Matson resigned to take a teaching position. And so we have 1 seat open for New Ipswich, and the term of this seat is going to be after the appointment is done, the person will be serving until the next election.
Right.
And there's RSA law that supports that.
Yeah.
And at that point, anybody who's appointed will have to run again. And anybody who's elected is going to fill out their term. So our community values transparency, openness. And so what we've done is we publicized on the school website and a couple other mechanisms, and we did an all call. So the two New Ipswich school board members, that's myself and Mitch Gluck, we are empowered to make the appointment, but we wanted to make sure that we could take all candidates. I have a personal desire that diversity is really important, and we had a very healthy number of people who responded, to the point that we had conversations. Do you know the person? Do you not? And then we made initial reach out. Sometimes they want to talk to both, et cetera, et cetera. So we're somewhere within that process.
Okay.
And it is not final tonight. So I wanted to turn it over to Mitch to see if you had any comments or ways to wrap that up.
No, the only thing I would add to that is that I think we have a good list of potential candidates. So that regardless of who we fill this temporary position with, there will be people that I think Tim and I both feel we want to encourage to consider running in the March election. And I think we're both very pleased with the people that we've spoken with and what we've learned about them. That's it.
Good. I think one thing that we need to make aware, and in the communities in particular, is that very unusually do you have 2 or 3 board members go off at the same time. In March, we'll have 4. So it will mean an entirely new learning experience unless Eric is going to run again, in which I'm going to try to work with him on that. But I think that's very important for everyone to realize. To support the administrative team, a turnover of 4 members would be very difficult.
And I'd like to also support that comment, is that the process that Mitch and I selected to publicize, take all the people in to make sure that we can recruit a lot of candidates. Because there's anybody who's interested in the school district, there's a place for them, right? And the passion, the energy, et cetera. So there are going to be 2 seats in New Ipswich open in March, and also 2 in Greenville. So.
Okay, good. So we'll expect a recommendation at the next board meeting?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you both. Dr. Pogorzelski, the 8th grade DC field trip update?
Yep. So before you do have the overnight field trip forms. Those were in Google Drive. And so again, Mr. Fondas had requested that we kind of get information so that we could confirm and approval to move forward. So right now the trip is looking April 7th to April 11th. That's a wonderful time of year to go. They will be doing Gettysburg, Washington, DC, and Philadelphia. Right now, it's priced for between 50 and 60 students at just over $1,200. That number could shift. Again, it's not a concrete number until we get those first payments, until everyone puts in a deposit. There's plenty of fundraising that they have planned. So again, I can answer any questions that you may have.
I have one question. I looked at the form, and if I read it correctly, they're looking for 2 more volunteers to be chaperones. Is that correct? By the way, my granddaughter has given me explicit instructions that I'm not to be one of them. But I do know some people who
So typically how this works is you know some people who are going right off the bat.
Right.
And then it depends on the number that are actually going. So right now you have Jim Parody, Karen Beezer, Amy Hill, and a nurse
Okay.
that will be going. Normally those 1 to 2 others are staff members.
Okay.
It's just sometimes it's the last minute of who's going, me or you, and that will depend sometimes on how many students.
I tried as chair, Mitch, and I didn't even. So the chair would entertain a motion to approve the plans from Kevin Fondas on the 8th grade field trip to DC.
I'll make the motion.
Tim makes the motion.
I'll second it.
Mitch seconds. Is there further discussion, people? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Passes unanimously. Thank you, Liz. New business, professional development, Mr. Fondas.
So again, before you, you have quite the packet from Mr. Fondas on his Learning and the Brain conference that's occurring in November. So what we put forward is specifically when they're requesting travel costs. And so Kevin is, the hotel reservation was a little bit over what the rate is. So we're not compensating him fully for the hotel. But in total, what we're asking for is $12.97. And that includes the hotel for 2 nights, meals and incidentals, and the conference registration.
Questions or comments from the board? Tim?
Yeah, just, I like the title. It's catchy. What does that enable a building principal? Like, what's the topic? Because it's kind of a catchy title, but, and I didn't have a chance to read it either. So
So
just wondering
there's,
if you can give a high level.
it's learning in the brain. So that's a big overarching title. And there are
Yeah.
different breakout sessions throughout the entire workshop of 2 and 3, almost 3 days. Again, it's in there. I don't
Yeah,
know
okay.
which part you want me to speak to.
Um,
I think that he's going to come away with some practical strategies on and how to help staff work with students that different abilities, different the way that different brains work. Not all brains function the same way. Things that impact the brain, like rewiring the brain with technology.
well, maybe if you can expand a little bit on that. So like the idea of like everybody's waving these things around saying it's infecting our, there's a lot of passion related to multimedia and whatnot. Is that going to be one of the things that,
I don't know what his plan is for each breakout section.
but the whole overall program is going to include a little bit of that and a little bit of,
I believe so.
okay, so there's enough diversity that he can make selections that are going to fit.
He's
this
gonna,
one.
he's gonna be able to, I think, fit what makes sense for him and the things that he's seeing.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I think a good summary statement of that program is that all people learn differently, and the whole program is designed to different approaches to reach people who learn in different ways. Chair would entertain a motion.
I'll make the motion to accept.
Motion is made by Mitch. Do I have a second? Eric seconds. Further discussion, folks? All those in favor? Opposed or abstentions? It's approved unanimously. We've already done the CAS presentation, so the standard power hydroelectric rebate. Rachel?
Yeah, so this coincides with the approval of the electric supply contract that we had about a month ago. This company provides a little bit of a kickback as part of an agreement to promise to buy back some of the electric power from hydroelectric service. So it gives us roughly about $3,000 every 2 quarters. It's included in our revenue sources. So I'm just looking for approval and permission to sign on behalf of the district.
Chair would entertain a motion anytime they might be willing to give us money, the chair would expect it to be
It feels pretty good.
Yeah.
Make a motion
to
accept that.
Eric makes a motion.
I'll second it.
Tim seconds. Further discussion, folks? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, extensions? It passes unanimously. Thank you, Rachel. Unanticipated revenue.
So even more good news, more money coming our way. This is a grant that our wellness committee had applied for earlier, I think actually last spring, and they did receive it. So I'm asking the board to accept $497.94 from Cheshire Medical Center through their Healthy Monadnock Worksite Wellness Mini Grant. And that's for the purpose of purchasing a standing desk.
Make a motion to accept the
Tim
money.
makes the motion to accept.
I'll second that.
Mitch seconds. Further discussion, folks? All those in favor? Opposed, abstentions? Passes unanimously. School Care Membership Council appointment. Rachel?
And finally, this is just more of a formality, if anything. Previously, Beth Gregory had been the representative for the district with school care. How school care works, it's very much like a mutual insurance company where all the members have voting rights. So this would enable me to go to the annual meeting and participate.
Do you need our specific approval for that? Is that within your job description?
That is something that school care is saying it's the school board that appoints that representative, but it typically is the business administrator.
Chair would ask without objection to allow Rachel to attend that.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, Rachel. We've already gone through the capital reserve request funds, but we do have an additional under the unfinished business, new business, I'm sorry. The grant.
Yes, in your board packet this evening, you'll see grant-funded musical instruments, a slate of things that we are looking to purchase using the remaining ESSER dollars. As you know, from last meeting, we have a very short window to close that out, and we have an opportunity here to bring some equipment in. One of them that's worth noting is the tuba replacement that originally was at over $7,000. It is working with Ellis Music, who is our vendor, down to $6,420. You can see that the instruments are quite expensive to bring in. These are different than student grade rental equipment. These are school grade equipment that are meant for multiple users over multiple years. So this is a long-term investment for us. Ellis has been great and generous in their quote. My original estimates were far higher than this, but they have brought both equipment for Messina Regional High School and Boynton Middle School for $17,661, inclusive of 6 pieces of equipment and some replacement reeds for the oboe.
Questions or comments from members of the board? It seems to be a very reasonable price based on what I've seen for retail on that, but it's not my area of expertise, so.
There's a bit of information that I think I'd like to add to it. Dr. Poco's got some in front of her, something about, some information about a clarinet that we are in possession of. That is a collector's item that is not really for student use, that has some resale value, but we're gonna take some action on that. If Liz, you want to add the details to that?
Yeah, so I'm asking for permission for us to move forward with Ellis, finding a market for, now, Ellis said it could be one of two instruments. It could be a contrabass clarinet, which is averaged at $38,000, or a contralto clarinet at $19,000. So again, very expensive piece of equipment that is not something that you would see in a middle or high school, something that you would see at a college level. And I do not have the contacts in my address book to be able to appropriately find people who are looking for a contrabass clarinet. So I'm seeking approval to pursue.
Just for clarification, where did we get this letter?
This was found, I don't know about the provenance, but it was located and someone had the good sense to look into it, and we found out it was the $19,000 to $38,000 range.
Excellent.
We sent it out for repair, and then they said,
They were like,
"Hey guys, did you know?"
Well, we were
It's not
like,
worth
yeah,
repairing.
we said this
It's
is
not worth
yeah,
repairing,
exactly.
just give it. No, they were very good with us on that.
On
Just not
another
sure
note,
where we originally required it.
I apologize. On another note, there is a $10,000 marimba on the wish list. So if those funds do become available, we might be coming back for a marimba.
Marimba.
Do we have a band? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there's some
apologize.
there's some talent. There's some people that are like,
No, these musical instruments are for the chem lab, Eric.
Say it as a.
No,
Thank
we
you. I
have.
apologize for my.
Oh, no. It's
No
valid. We have two different bands. We have one at the high school and we have one at Boynton. And at the high school, we actually have different bands. We have a pep band. So if you went to homecoming, you see that there was a pep band playing at the volleyball game, and we often will have a jazz band, so I think we tried a rock band a couple years ago that might have fizzled, but again, depending on the teacher, depending on the year, there are a group of students. We just graduated last year and the year before, a really talented group of students. So we're building back up.
And I'm going to throw a curveball, creative curveball here. And there should be more trombones, just saying. I love it. That's me. Is that clarinet interesting to a greater musical community that we could open up conversations, like people who are experts that may want to come here and play it or teach or something like that? Has there any ideas, creative ideas like that for the value of having this cool possession?
No, at this point, it's been
Just
sitting
financial?
it's been sitting in Kevin's office for a few years.
Okay.
Yeah,
it-
I wouldn't think anything's off the table.
I mean,
Because that would be really awesome to start attracting interesting musicians that want to come in and have a real deep connection to this type of bass clarinet.
Mhm.
So I'm just wondering if that might be something to consider.
I think the first is establishing which version it is.
That's fair. Right.
That's the starting point, and then to see what the interest level is and whatever. Okay,
So, Mr. Chair, we do need approval for those, that
for
purchase.
the instruments,
Yes,
right,
please.
but not excluding our sojourn into the gifts from who knows where.
So I'd make a motion to
We need a
approve
motion to approve the instruments as presented.
as presented. Yes. I'd like to make that motion.
Tim makes the motion.
I'll second that.
Eric seconds. Further discussion, folks? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions? Passes unanimously. Thank you, Melissa. I want to make one note. We're coming on to policies. All the policies that you see here listed will be considered a first read. And Ariana, would you make sure that that's part of the notation on that? Yeah.
So the policies that you have before you, AC and ACAC are updates to the current policy. So but the slate that you have in front of you, it's AC and ACAC are the updates, and then with the additional AC-R and ACA. So those kind of came as a group. Melissa had prior in the year given a link to her presentation on Title IX and some of the changes. If you remember, one of the things that it does is it lowers the threshold for what is considered a Title IX violation, and it widens the definition. So there were some changes in the law regarding the grievance procedure. So we've updated our process to match that. ACN kind of came through there. It's a accommodation of lactation needs. That's for both students and employees. GBAM was accommodation of pregnancy related medical conditions for personnel, and IHBCA was accommodation of pregnancy and related medical conditions for students. We previously have not had a policy that protects pregnant students, but as part of the Title IX that came out that we should indeed have that.
I think it's safe to say that all of these or most of these are required by law now.
I believe all of them are required by law. I know the ACs were actually
Yes.
adopted August 1st.
Right.
So we're a little bit late on that. As far as
I'm not sure about
ACN,
IHBCA, but I was pretty sure that most of these
Mhm.
were required by law. This is new legislation. We had 12 policies.
IHBCA is recommended,
It's recommended.
Yep.
Okay, so I thought it might be that one.
and ACN is required by law, and GBAM was also recommended.
Okay.
So the last two were recommended.
Okay.
IHBCA, although recommended, is the protections do exist in the Title IX law federally. So while that particular policy is redundant, I think, to the GBAM, it is specific to students, and that is outlined in the Title IX statute.
So what, For those who haven't gone through like a slate like this on a first reading, there's a lot to these policies. What we're looking for tonight is just to have it set as a first reading. There's no motions for approval or whatever. So between now and the next meeting, if something comes up, or you get further information, or you need further information, then the second reading is when we present it. But we have to present it this way to bring the policies to the light of day and public awareness. Tim?
When is the next policy committee meeting? And what are the, will it be socialized? Can people attend? Is it listen only? A little bit of the policy, because these ones are really important.
They're
really
vital.
critical.
Yep.
Yeah, like,
And unfortunately, we think that with the new definition, what we're going to see is we're going to see more of these issues pop up and become Title IX, or potential for Title IX,
Yes.
parents to pursue that, so we do see that. And we, again, a tough read perhaps to read
Yeah.
through it. It's slogging through some legalese. But again, very important. So as far as the policy committees and meetings, I'm going to get up in a minute and
That's
I'll
fine.
be able to answer you.
Yeah.
We front loaded a bunch of policy meetings in the beginning just to get some stuff
cleaned up.
Cleaned
There's
up.
like a cleanup, yeah.
We're trying to clean up a little bit. But they are open to the public.
Okay.
They are open. People can attend, but it's viewing. It's viewing. So
Like
it's
listen only, for information only.
yes.
Okay.
And typically what I've seen, Tim, is when people do have comments on one of the policies, that's a public comment, right?
Okay.
As true with most of the meetings, they are open to the public, but for most of them, it really is to just sit there and watch what's going on in the meeting and then use the school board meeting to follow.
Okay.
Okay, so there's no action that needs to be taken tonight. Again, with any first reading, it is really the board's awareness and public awareness that these policies are being brought before the board. If there are any changes, emendations, or whatever, that happens after the first reading. Thank you, Liz. Personnel. Liz?
Yes. So I did have a couple of edits for this. Again, I apologize. So number 9, I'm requesting that we waive the 20-day sub pay. Instead, we just move directly to long-term sub pay. This was what we had planned to do with the prior teacher. Unfortunately, she did resign the first week of school. So we're looking, Eric, don't look that way. So I'm just requesting that we do the same thing with our new long-term substitute. Then number 14, the amount was incorrect. So the amount should be 41,217. It was we had to prorate it for the start date, and it's a 0.8. It's not a full time. So just for your understanding there. And I did upload a PAF. My apologies. In the haze of hiring, this gentleman was not brought to your attention earlier. He should have been brought before a prior board meeting. So it was the can I say that? It was the PE high school teacher. And I don't have the number attached, but I can find it in a minute.
Okay.
And that would be it. I'll find the number.
Thank you. 62,550.
Questions, comments from the board? Actually, the board would entertain a motion to accept the personnel slate as amended.
I'll make the motion.
Mitch makes the motion.
I'll second it.
Tim seconds. And now, is there any discussion from the board? Questions, comments?
Mr. Chair, I would also ask for permission to continue hiring in the next 2 weeks, if that's if that works for you, and bring forward any hires in the next 2 weeks at the board meeting. It's just time is of the essence, unfortunately, with these things.
Liz and I have talked about that, and I said I did not think that would be a problem because it's an extension of the period for her to hire, and times being what they are, I think it's prudent to do so.
Okay, and just for information to communicate to the public ourselves, where do people find open positions? Is it on the website?
Open positions are on School Spring.
School Spring?
Staff get internal emails. So if you're on our staff emailing list, you typically get in, these are the positions that we're looking for. For one of the positions, I've asked the union to waive the 10-day posting because we do have, it's critical with kids are missing out right now. So we're
Okay.
really trying to get people in. But I think the link to School Spring is posted on our website. Am I correct? Yes.
Okay, cool.
Yes.
All right, so anybody that's interested, and are these also with a bachelor degree, university bachelor degree, those people can apply
Yes.
for these positions?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
okay, thank you.
Any other comments or questions? All those in favor of accepting as amended?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Passes unanimous. You're welcome. There is no public, so there will be no final public, and there is no non-public session tonight. And so the chair would entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make the motion to adjourn.
Mitch makes the motion to adjourn somewhat dramatically.
I'll second it.
Tim seconds. Thank you.